to get some real rollback of the national surveillance state. Now, they're already trying to tire us by introducing fake reforms in the Congress. And the courts, they betrayed their sworn oaths to the Constitution and Bill of Rights again and again, and can in no way be trusted to stop the abuses for us. We've got to do it ourselves. How? We nullify it at the state level. It's still not easy, but the Off Now project of the 10th Amendment Center has gotten off to a great start. I mean it. There's real reason to be optimistic here. They've gotten their model legislation introduced all over the place, in state after state. I've lost count, more than a dozen. You're always wondering, yeah, but what can we do? Here's something important, something that can work if we do the work. Get started cutting off the NSA support in your state. Go to offnow.org.
Terror and confusion fell upon the nation this week after nearly 314 million Americans reported inexplicably losing consciousness for 8 hours straight last night, with countless victims helplessly recovering from the fugue-like state with no memory whatsoever of the lost time. Researchers at Princeton University, who have been studying the alarming phenomenon since its inception, told reporters that though they were unable to ascertain the source of the sweeping condition, it appeared to be somehow linked to the setting of the sun.
Right now, we suspect that there may be some connection between these sudden blackouts and the visions that some Americans have reported experiencing while they were unconscious. But most of these hallucinations are too abstract for us to draw any definite conclusions from.
At this time, we urge people to never turn off their lights and under no circumstances close their eyes for any extended period of... Oh, God. It's happening again.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live, inviting you, if you want to join us here. Our number is 603-283-6160. You can take control of the airwaves. 603-283-6160. More updates on the social media crackdown against Donald Trump. And also people claiming they want Donald Trump to be removed from office, even though he's only got 2 weeks left. There's a lot of controversy going on out there. Your calls and thoughts are welcome. 603-283-6160. Joining you tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
All right, we're actually going to go to your phone calls and thoughts to start things out here tonight. First up, already on the line before we even started the show, his name is Loco for Liberty. He's in West Virginia, and he says he was in the U.S. Capitol. And now I don't know if that meant that you were in the building. What happened? What did you want to tell us about? Welcome to the show.
I really wasn't in the building, but I was there for most of the I left before the fun began, but the crowd was really tame. But looking back on it, I really feel like there were Antifa just blending into the crowd. You know, I tried to take some pictures, but my camera failed. But anyway, I think that the Trump guys were played.
When you say they were played, which Trump guys and how were they played?
Well, I think that at the up by the Capitol building where the entry was made, there were Antifa guys pretending to be Trump guys and getting them all excited, and there was their kind of fight broke out there initially, and then the Antifa guys just kind of fled, and the crowd just kind of pushed through at that point. At least that's my understanding from talking to folks that were there. This is what I don't.
I mean, I'm not saying that there weren't Antifa there, but here's the thing that seems to me like most of these people who are claiming they're Antifa there don't want anyone to think that Trump supporters would ever break a window on the Capitol or would ever, like go and do the things that were actually done while waving Trump flags. It just don't.
Oh, I'm not saying that at all. But the crowd was really tame. The crowd was really tame. I mean, I could see them breaking a window here and there, but if Antifa or BLM was in that building, it would have been on fire.
So you're saying it wasn't Antifa. The first question I'd ask myself is, we have a positive identification on one person who was there, who's the dead Air Force veteran.
The one that was shot?
Yeah. Her name was Ashley something. Do you think
Babbitt.
Ashley Babbitt, that's right. Do you think she was Antifa?
No. I think she's probably one of the ones that got stirred up by those Antifa guys. She was like one of the first people in. She's buying into that Q stuff.
Now, if it was agents provocateur, why would you think it was Antifa and not the FBI? Because the FBI is famous for sending in agents provocateur to stir up crowds.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that point with you at all. I agree with you totally.
Okay, it's just that Antifa does not seem sufficiently sophisticated to do that, nor do I think they would be able to convincingly play Trump supporters in a way that would fool actual Trump supporters.
I think you're onto something, Nobody. The idea that maybe it was actually the FBI or undercover agents
more likely, actually.
That were doing this, because weren't there people saying that the cops actually purposely let people in, that certain officers opened up gates?
It did look like
it's on video.
Yeah, on video you could tell
they did that. So, and that again says deep state more than it says Antifa, because I'm guessing that Antifa has not extensively infiltrated the Capitol Police.
The suggestion being that this would be an operation by the government, whether deep state or not or whatever, but by the government to ensure that there's now an excuse to crack down even further, to crack down even harder.
Deep state's the part of the government that does black ops.
What I don't understand is why, people are upset and, they're pulling him off, Trump off Twitter, and people who say anything remotely relating to Trump, or say something that would even maybe be something a Trump supporter would say, when you had the left, you had Antifa, actually burning down police stations and, other buildings, during other riots.
It was actually Black Lives Matter who burned down the
Black Lives Matter,
police station.
But the point
is, I did see a story saying there were a couple of boogie boys involved. Go ahead.
The point that I'm making is that this seems like a double standard between two different groups.
Oh, of course.
Loco, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I wanted to share with you a breaking story that West Virginia delegate Derek Evans was taken into federal custody for being in the Capitol that day. Seems like the crackdown's begun on anybody that was in the building.
Oh, yeah, they're already filing charges. There were, I saw something, Mark Edge actually sent me a press release by the Department of so-called Justice saying they've already charged at least 13 people in federal court, and then there's another 40 that have been hit in some sort of superior court. So they're rounding up as many people as they can.
Yeah, notice how it's all federal rather than like the D.C. local stuff. They don't want you to get in those local courts and fight with them. They want to take you federal.
Well, actually, I think it said there were like 40 people being hit in some sort of a superior court, which I presumed was D.C. Superior Court, but I'm not sure which.
Either way, they're kind of screwed. I'm a lawyer. The D.C. area is just terrible.
I presume it would be federal.
Would the D.C. local police have authority to charge for that, because it was a federal building?
Yeah.
It was
seems like a federal issue. Not
it seems like, I mean, certainly a military base you would be charged under federal law, not state law.
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't read the whole
I think
press
there's some
release.
discretion on the authorities on how they can charge you. But it seems to me like kind of D.C. was in on what was going on.
There often is.
In my mind, the FBI and Department of Justice can't be trusted at this point.
No,
well, they never could.
Never could be.
No. You're preaching to the choir here. They came
liars and thieves.
Took me because I was, and tried to get me to entrap Ian here instead of even bothering to ask me where I got my weed.
Thank you, Loco. I appreciate your call and sharing your thoughts here tonight. Big story follow-up to yesterday, actually. We were talking about, Nobody, you and I had the story about how Facebook has suspended Trump through, at the very least, the remainder of his campaign, they're saying. But perhaps
of his term.
Sorry,
his campaign's over.
His term, correct. Well, he may begin a new campaign coming up in 2 weeks.
He might, but I don't think a 78-year-old Trump is
Biden ran at 78.
Yeah, but Biden was propped up by the media
this may be the end
guys
of Trump.
from Weekend at Bernie's.
Right.
Yeah.
But now the news is that Trump has been banned permanently from Twitter. According to the news here, and this is coming from CNN, Twitter put a press release out about this, saying that after a close review of recent tweets from @RealDonaldTrump and the context around them, we have permanently suspended the account due to the risk of further incitement of violence.
So I have an issue with that, because as far as I know, I've never even heard him say anything to advocate violence far as these protests are going. Advocating for protests is not the same thing as advocating for violence.
That's right. Well, normally Twitter would support protests if it was, from the left.
And if you look at what was going on before, they weren't suspending accounts over, what was it, Black Lives Matter?
No, absolutely not.
Burning actual buildings down. I mean, I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. This is why we need more decentralization and not being so reliant on centralized platforms like this.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, if our social media presence was on our own server, okay, and it was serving as both server and client, then nobody could stop us from getting updates from our friends, and nobody could stop our friends from getting our updates. There would be nobody but us to decide.
Usually we're attacking Facebook or some other entity, but this is the perfect opportunity to attack Twitter, because Twitter suspended his account, and there's good alternatives that people are actually using to Twitter.
Yeah, and we did touch on that briefly last night. Of course, Mastodon is a good alternative. I mean, it really basically just
absolutely.
It essentially apes Twitter pretty closely. It looks a lot like
Free Talk Live is you can sign up to a Mastodon feed.
Yeah, you can go to toot.freetalklive.com. They call it tooting instead of tweeting. Go to toot.freetalklive.com. You can follow us on Mastodon. Although, you still, if you really want the ultimate in decentralization, you need to run your own Mastodon server rather than relying on somebody else.
Mastodon
is nobody's
federated.
talking about.
There's more coming up here in moments. So if you want to join us, this is Free Talk Live.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything here. All you have to do is dial in at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
And of course, you can bring up whatever you want to talk about. We are talking about the attack against Donald Trump, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the guy or anything like that, but it's sad to see. It's interesting to see that a man with the visibility that Trump has is being taken down in the way that he is by these mega platforms like Twitter and Facebook.
And it goes far beyond Donald Trump. It goes, it extends to his supporters now. They're taking down people who are, making statements, just saying something to the effect of, like, I support Donald Trump, or not even that, but just, I was in, I think, Nancy Pelosi's office, so they'll take that down. I mean, stuff that's like, he didn't even say that he was in her office during the riots. It was just, that's it.
Wow.
They took down Walk Away, which is a bunch of, basically it's a bunch of people of color saying why they left the Democratic Party.
Interesting.
They're gone from Facebook, and they had literally I think over 500,000 followers.
It looks to me like it's an attack on anybody who's not a Democratic left socialist type.
Yeah, I'm sure that libertarians will be caught up in it too.
I think we've already been caught up in it.
Yeah.
I can't name anybody specifically, although
I can Free
think
Talk
of,
Live.
I can think of.
We've been kicked off. What?
Well,
we got kicked off.
We have not been kicked off of Twitter or Facebook, from what I know. We're still there.
Well, we got kicked off of.
But that's just because we're small. I mean, we don't have a big footprint. I mean, we may be on the radio or whatever, but there's not that many people that pay close attention to us. I mean, I'm sure we'd be kicked off if somebody said, "Oh, the hosts were talking about burning down the Capitol building." That'd be all they would need, right?
Yeah.
So it's just that we just haven't been reported. I mean, that's got to be what it is. Aria, for instance, gets kicked off of Facebook within 24 to 48 hours after she shows back up.
Yep.
And she's one of our co-hosts.
Yeah.
So she's got enough haters that follow her to where every post she makes, they're reporting every one of her posts, and it just gets her taken down.
Yeah, and I can't. Oh, Discord. That's the thing we got.
Discord took us off. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's
and
true. We knew that was coming.
And it's not. And this predates this particular riot or scenario, though, Donald Trump. But that's the other thing. It's to point out that this isn't the thing. This hasn't just started happening. This is something that's been building up until now.
Right.
And now they're using
Trump is the sort of the peak. Right? So they've been hitting these little guys here and there. They've been hitting smaller influencers on the right over time. Christopher Cantwell, of course, went totally far right, and they hit him. And so now they're just moving that sort of, what is it called, the Overton window or whatever.
Yeah.
They're moving that towards the center, and now they're going after the biggest target, Donald Trump. They're saying we can take down the president. I mean, that's what they're saying.
We were just talking off air about how Ridley is
Dave Ridley
Ridley Report is being attacked, and his going to be deplatformed here shortly by YouTube. So
he's like most peaceful guy you'd ever want to know, and
Right.
not a fan of Donald Trump by any
Yeah,
stretch.
he's having videos taken down that are like not violent, not right, like right wing or anything of that nature. They're just like he's just generally talking about certain subjects.
Yeah,
You know,
they're
just like we
not
went on this show.
left wing.
Right.
The funny
Yeah.
thing is, they took him down for reporting violence against a trans person.
He even wears a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy is not.
Yeah.
This is like you're taking. I don't want to say you're taking down your own people here, but like it's going to get to that point.
You're either with them or you're against them.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And so it's interesting watching this happen. Actually, there's some of it that goes even deeper. I've got a story about Gab. You guys have heard of Gab,
Oh yeah,
right?
the platform that's right wing in quotes.
Gab's an interesting study because it sort of years ago, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, whenever it kind of came into prominence, as this sort of right-wing alternative, or a place at least where a lot of right-wing people were
It was supposed
going.
to be free speech, and it ended up attracting a lot of people who were being banned on the right.
They did. They ended
From
up
other
actually banning
platforms.
Christopher Cantwell. So it's like you couldn't get away with everything.
Yeah,
on,
it's not
on
as
Gab.
free speech friendly as I would prefer, to be honest. And I'm not on that platform, but like I don't feel like they're free speech enough.
But what's interesting, what we'll talk
what's
about here.
awkward about it, though, is because it's that particular group that's getting banned. There are like I find Gab intolerable because because
It's too
there's,
right-wing?
huh?
Because it's too right-wing for you?
Well, it's too much full of just people who are like racist people who and really are racist. I mean,
there are libertarians there, though. I mean,
there are libertarians there.
I found a group of libertarians on there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just like any other platform. You're going to find people, if you want to find people you don't like, they're going to be there. You can probably also find people that you do like.
Yeah, it's just the people I didn't like outnumbered the people I did
see.
like there, so I didn't feel.
Well, that's true on every platform.
I think
for
I
the
like,
most part, except for Liberdon.
You're kind of right, but I think it's sort of. I think there are different platforms. Like Gab was originally set up as like a centrally hosted kind of platform, right? Independent.
It still is. It's just a Mastodon centrally hosted platform now.
Well, yeah. So Mastodon though is federated. So there's also socialists and libertarians and people on the right on Mastodon. And I think that's kind of the difference, as opposed to nobody who's on the right is on Twitter anymore, apparently.
Well, soon I'm sure the right
they're
will
trying
be
to get
on
rid of them.
Twitter, and also Apple is talking about has given Parler 24 hours to institute a censorship policy.
Oh, really?
Acceptable to them, or they're going to take it out of the App Store.
Yeah. So some of this stuff is gone even deeper than just one platform banning people. What the Gab guy is, the founder of Gab wrote an article about what's happening to him and apparently his family being taken down by companies like Visa. So we can talk about that on the way.
And he's not particularly right wing. He's actually libertarian, as I understand it.
Okay. Probably.
But because he built a free speech platform, and because only one side was being denied free speech on the other platforms, then he got stuck with a bunch of right-wing buttholes instead of a variety of buttholes from both sides of the spectrum.
And this is the thing. I think somebody who really is libertarian like that, he is probably a good person to hold up as not caving into that pressure to shut down a group that he disagrees with. Right. I think that's exactly what a real liberal, genuine libertarian is going to do. But I think we definitely the federated area is definitely the direction to head.
No doubt, and that's why we've launched a Matrix server, which you can join. Go to chat.lrn.fm. It's a decentralized, federated, self-hosted chat service, and I would say it's been a pretty big success. We've had it going since roughly September, October, in that range.
There's
and
lots and lots of people talking on it, that's for sure.
There are, and so far we haven't had to ban a single person from it because we're not beholden to some corporation. There's no corporation holding an axe over our head saying, you must enforce these rules. Doesn't matter. We can do whatever we want.
Yep.
So if you want to check that out, go to chat.lrn.fm. Coming up, more about the ban on Donald Trump. Does he even have a platform left? If we want to go and see what Donald Trump is saying tonight, where do we go?
Not a centralized one.
There's more coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right, I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dinovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dinovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power, but there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything here. 603-283-6160. We're talking about, where is this whole crackdown from the social media behemoths going? They're taking down the president himself. Donald Trump has had his Twitter account permanently suspended, according to a news release from Twitter today. But it's not just that. Elsewhere, we're seeing, as you mentioned, Apple Computer, which of course controls a good chunk of the cell phone markets out there, is banning certain. You mentioned this. I don't know if it was on the air.
Parler.
Federated apps. Oh, Parler, which is not federated, but it's a centralized.
Even before the whole Donald Trump thing, they had started going after federated apps. Now, federated apps, like for example, apps that will clients basically that allows you to connect to Mastodon, like FediLab, and I don't know if FediLab is one of them that are on the App Store, but they were basically getting suspended, I believe, and then told that they have to, if they want back on, they have to add a blacklist to their app to blacklist. Now you have to remember this is like basically this is like a web browser, right? You can connect to any website you want, but if you don't have, but they're having, it's like a double standard because they don't require this for web browsers, but they are requiring it
for this
for
one thing.
apps that are federated.
That's for now. Will they demand the ability to control where your web browsers can go after this? I would not be surprised.
It could be
to see that. And I'll tell you what, if somebody had told me 10 years ago that one of the most massive corporations in the world would launch a crackdown on who you could talk to and what you could say, and leftists would love it, I would have said you're crazy. But by God, one of the biggest corporations in the world is now controlling what you can and can't say by virtue of being denied technology, and the leftists love it.
Yeah, I mean, this is stuff I've been talking about for 20 years. You know, it starts off with the censorship filters in certain countries, and then it gets extended and extended and extended, and even when it's so-called voluntary, you know, it doesn't. It's still dangerous. It doesn't matter whether it's voluntary or it's not voluntary and is forced by government. It's still a dangerous thing to do, and a dangerous route. It doesn't mean you don't have the right as a business to do it.
Yep,
but you shouldn't do it because it's very, very dangerous.
And this is why I took the position I took on Facebook, which I remember both of you guys disagreed. That basically, although it might not be, it might not be technically right that Facebook was being that they were putting pressure on Facebook to allow free speech. And not to ban half of the political spectrum from Facebook, that maybe it wasn't such a bad thing. You know, it's one of those things like.
Hold on, you're saying it wasn't a bad thing for Facebook to ban?
No,
people?
I'm saying that maybe it's not such a bad thing for Facebook to have some pressure on it not to put a political correctness meter on every single person that is on their platform, and to force them to speak only within the realm of what Facebook thinks is right. And if they do, then maybe they should be considered a publisher and not a passive conduit of information, because they are not passive. They are extremely active in controlling what can and cannot be said.
When you say they should be considered a publisher, what do you mean?
I mean, that was the debate.
This is the liability 230.
This is the liability thing. This is the thing where Facebook wants to have it both ways. They want to have absolute control over what's said on their platform, but they don't want to be held responsible for what's said on their platform.
They shouldn't be,
because they're an open forum.
But
they're not
in
an open forum. It's a lie.
Yeah,
they're not an open forum. I don't know if they've claimed to be an open forum.
Well, they do claim to be an open forum, and that's why they claim that they should not be subject to libel laws.
Dude, when you sign up for Facebook, there's a TOS, there's a terms of service policy. Like everybody has one. Every centralized
that
platform.
Contradicts what they say when people say, "Oh, if you're going to control what's said on your platform, then you should be held to the standards of a publisher."
They're
which
not
means,
hiding. They're not hiding that they censor stuff.
No, they're not hiding it, and so they should be treated as a publisher.
What do you mean by that, though? That they should be able to be sued because of what somebody says there?
That they should be subject to libel law, just like a newspaper is. If a newspaper chooses to publish something,
don't you think that's a disturbing viewpoint to be arguing for? I mean, then are we also going to be under that rule?
Well, personally, I don't think anybody should be under that rule.
Well, then why are you advocating for it?
Because people are under that rule, and if anybody is under that rule, Facebook belongs under that rule with them, because Facebook is no different from any other publisher. So they publish their opinion.
Okay, but you're arguing for more regulation. Wouldn't the perspective of a libertarian be that essentially
regulation is that if any publisher is held to these standards,
right, so
then Facebook should be held to the same standard.
Right, but are you going in the wrong direction? Shouldn't you say that no publisher should be held to those standards, and that
I'll say that as well.
Shouldn't you?
No publisher should be held to those standards, but as long as any publisher is held to that standard, Facebook should be held to that standard.
But that means that any other so-called publisher should be held to that standard.
No, it doesn't. It means Facebook.
Oh, you only want to pick on Facebook. So
yes.
Twitter should be
exempt.
Twitter,
actually,
okay.
Sure.
So only the platforms you don't
the
like.
The big boys.
What about
the ones
YouTube?
I don't like. Yes,
only
exactly that.
Like. Okay.
The ones that
well, you know the government
like
doesn't work that way, right?
Yeah,
you know
the
government
that want to control what is said.
You know the government doesn't work that way, right? You're not going to be in charge at any point. So if they listen to you and do what you say, and there are people like on the right wing,
I should be in charge.
Nobody should be in charge.
Yes, nobody should be in charge.
No.
And
that's great.
That's the thing. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that it should happen.
No, it shouldn't. If you're essentially taking the ultra right wing perspective. This was the exact same perspective that Chris Cantwell had, and his perspective and the ultra right perspective is take away all protections from all platforms and make them all liable for their content. Make them completely open. Force them to be completely open. And as a libertarian, you shouldn't support either of those.
Well, the position that I take is they should be completely free. All platforms, including newspapers should be free to publish whatever the hell they want.
That's the libertarian perspective.
Absolutely. So long as they're not, that Facebook and Twitter and those media behemoths that are brainwashing the United States should be held to the most stringent standard
then they're gonna
that
hold you.
anybody is held to.
This seems to be just a bad direction to go. They should all be held to the same standard to the degree that there's a standard, which is what you're saying, I think. But I don't think that standard should exist in the first place.
Yeah, it's what's the thing is, what we're in is a situation now where it's going to be right-wing platforms are held to a strict liability standard, whereas left-wing platforms are free to say whatever they want.
And
that is not right.
I think this is a good time to bring up the point of that's why it's dangerous to have these standards for public, like newspapers and similar platforms, because they get extended. They never go away. They only ever get extended to
the more restrictive.
Right. And then you end up impacting free speech.
And that's the problem, nobody. By you making that call, I understand that you ultimately would like to eliminate any of those sorts of restrictions on publishers. That's the perspective you should be promoting, because people are listening to you. You're on a national radio show right now, and whether you like it or not, people will echo things that are said on the radio. And so I'd rather have people talking about let's get rid of any kind of controls and restrictions rather than demanding that other companies be put under them. So you should take some responsibility for what you're saying.
I will say both things, and I have said both things repeatedly.
You've said them both, and I think that's confusing.
I think
There's more
it's a
coming
mistake
up
too.
here. Yeah, it's a big mistake. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
I just heard the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time on an airplane. The flight attendant announced, "If you paid more than $75 for your round-trip ticket, you overpaid." This is brilliant because everybody on the flight paid more, and I was struck by how all the road warriors stopped typing and reading and working and looked up. The announcement invited us to apply for the airline's credit card. And the sign-up bonus? Enough frequent flyer miles for a free round trip. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual fee, but a bargain for airline tickets. For more tips on communicating more effectively, hit survivalspeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
Yeah, then what are you going to do about it? Instead of sitting on a microphone, what are you going to do about it?
I've stopped paying income tax. My partner spent 60 days in jail for standing in the way of a police car that was taking somebody to jail that he didn't believe should be taken to jail.
So I've done cop blocking, I've done outreach, I've done all kinds of stuff. Do you need more? I've run for political office, I've gone to the State House and testified many times, and I also do civil disobedience. What else can I do?
You know, it's like it's pathetic, really. I mean, it's
What's
bad.
pathetic, sir? What's pathetic?
You are. The two of you are.
How's that exactly?
The two of you are, because you're pathetic. You just sit there and rail about stuff that you don't do a thing about.
What are you doing, Danny? Tell me something I could do that's not pathetic.
I'm not hosting a show. I'm not hosting a show. I'm not the one that comes.
So you have no ideas. You have nothing original.
He's got microphone
and
in
now you're going bye-bye.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
We're talking about the changing landscape in the world of social media. There have been alternatives for a long time, but the people who are on the side of restricting speech, let's call them the left, at this moment.
The right also is.
The right would do it.
The right wants to restrict speech.
They both
also,
want
they
to.
just want to restrict it in a different way.
I think right now the
They're just
left
not in charge.
The left is
they don't have the power to do it.
In control of the platforms, but that doesn't mean the right isn't also supporting it.
True.
It's just they're the ones
They
being
just
affected.
appear to be in favor of freedom of speech
Negatively,
because
right.
they're the ones who are being affected.
Right.
Mostly. But nonetheless, all of our freedom of speech is under threat if some of our freedom of speech is under
Yes,
threat.
absolutely.
And so it's important to stand up for this. If you want to comment, again, 603-283-6160. Also, thank you to Sid, who is a Free Talk Live Silver amplifier. Sid contributing $5 a month to the AMP program. You can go to amp.freetalklive.com and get signed up there. You can use credit card, debit card. You can use PayPal or your Bitcoin, BTC, to back up what we do here on Free Talk Live. We still have some semblance of free speech for now, and we're going to keep using it. And so if you appreciate what we do, then please go to amp.freetalklive.com and get signed up there. You'll get some cool perks and some benefits. Let's go to Mark. He's on the line in Tennessee. Mark, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, Ian. Hey, crew. How you doing?
Hey, what's on your mind, Mark?
Hey, I just want to call. You've got a hot button issue here. I would have called your amp line, but I didn't know the new number if you had one. But I'm happy to be a continued amp supporter. And
thanks.
This is an exciting thing. And frankly, we're in a place in time where people are getting in trouble for breathing and walking.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's becoming untenable to even live your life when they literally just want to kill you. So for me,
Welcome to the
I
club.
go back to the Event 201 video and I look at the fourth section about communication. They want to stop the signal. And stopping the signal means controlling output and not allowing people to speak freely. And that's why I have your channel on Float. Studio 8424 LRN is your Free Talk Live and Liberty Radio Network 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on Float.
What is Float?
Float.app.tv. Float is a social media platform that believes in free speech and promotes free speech. The basic tenet of Float is basically anti-spam. And if you're not spamming, you're doing fine.
So you probably met the guys from Float, Chris. They were at the Porcupine Freedom Festival and Fork Fest for a few days this year.
Probably did.
A young couple they live in Vegas, I believe it is, and that's
all I can think when I hear the name is down here. Everything floats.
It's spelled differently. It's FLOTE.
Yeah, I feel like I have actually met them, as I do remember speaking to somebody from Vegas. I just not that.
Yeah, so
great
it's
in my memory.
it is a centralized platform, but it's one run by libertarian types.
I understand.
And ultimately, that's kind of similar to the Liberdon, which is a Mastodon instance run by a libertarian.
But that's also federated. So
it is federated. That's true. But of course, with federation comes the idea of disfederation, meaning that someone can disconnect from the federation, which is what happened with Gab. So Gab started as Gab was its own website programmed by whoever. Then Gab adopted Mastodon and became the largest Mastodon instance. I believe they still are the largest by number of users Mastodon instance. And Mastodon itself, the programmers put out a notice saying, "We don't agree with Gab. We are disfederating from Gab. We're disconnecting from Gab," and a bunch of other servers disconnected from them.
It's a little bit more complicated than that. Right. So it turns out I have actually done testing since then, and yeah, you absolutely, as long as your node is not censoring them, you can still communicate with people.
Correct, but my point is that with federation comes disfederation, and that's the beauty of federation is that you can disconnect.
100%,
and that's what happened to the Gab platform,
which is one of the reasons why I advocate for people being on platform, nodes like Liberdon over nodes that are run by people on the left who are more censorship happy.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Hey, Mark, anything else you want to share about this?
Well, yeah, I want to show people that, they can actually be their own TV station, their own radio station. They can speak freely. They don't have to be censored. And in fact, I teach a process called syndication, which allows you to be on platforms where you have been banned, because people don't understand how much power they really have over these platforms, over the terms of service. All you have to do is syndicate, and you can be there, and it really doesn't matter what their policies are.
When you say syndicate, what do you mean? How you can go on a platform that's banned you? How does that work?
So imagine, how Law and Order was an NBC show. It's still on the air after all these years for SVU. Well, they have other channels like Ion TV that play Law and Order episodes,
right,
and SVU episodes, and you can watch CSI, Syndicated, on different networks on television. That's how syndication is. So for me, syndication is using a conferencing tool to run your feed, inviting people into the conference who have their own stream keys on various platforms. And then your feed goes across their key. It doesn't matter.
Won't that just get them shut down?
Well, you let them know in advance, hey, we were banned or whatever. They take their own risk.
I see.
And people are willing to do that.
Okay.
And the reason they do it is because they support you.
Gotcha. So, trying to get your feed out there and just understanding that it's not likely going to last for very long. I got to say, I like what Chris does here a little bit better. He's doing his own feed from his own server, basically. You sort of rolled your own, basically, when it comes to video streaming.
You got a live relay server, so it doesn't max out.
And you don't rely on some platform, some
right,
third-party platform. So I think people should look into that.
So the nice thing about Float is you get your own key and you can be active right there on Float. You don't have to syndicate. You can go straight there. But I like to promote Float because of their free speech.
So there's actually something interesting that I just found out today that's even better than Float, it sounds. So PureTube is now doing some sort of it's enabled some sort of decentralized live streaming. So
really? What is
I haven't
PureTube?
looked into it yet.
What is PureTube?
PureTube is a decentralized platform, sort of like Library, basically.
Really?
For distributing videos, but it also now apparently does some sort of distributed live
I'll have to look
streaming.
into that.
Yeah,
It's
I haven't
part of
looked
the
into it myself either.
Fediverse.
I've only heard from other people who are
There are
who
so
did
many
it
platforms.
It's
about
part of the Fediverse, as I understand it. So it integrates with Liberdon. It integrates with Mastodon.
That makes sense. Yep, I believe
Free,
that's correct.
open source, decentralized.
But so it's a cross between Mastodon and YouTube. More
I know.
Or less.
I know. Fedilab supports it. Appears. I believe in the Fedilab is basically a client to connect to Mastodon.
Hey, Mark, thanks for the call. I appreciate hearing from you tonight.
Yeah.
So, this is definitely something worth looking into, PeerTube. Now, you said you have not taken the time to really investigate this.
I have
but
not.
You've heard that this is
I know of PeerTube, and it sounds good to me.
I know I started installing it
really
one time, but I didn't get there.
But this live streaming thing is like the killer feature, I think.
Here it is. This is from their news page on their website, and this was just posted yesterday. So, PeerTube version 3 with P2P live streaming, according to this. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely something I want to look into.
It would be interesting to see if that might be part of how Cell 411 works eventually.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So you could, sign up for the Cell 411 channel, and whoever is having an incident and streaming, you see all the streams of people's police interactions or what have you.
So we'll, I'm sure, know more about that in the coming weeks. In the meantime, if you want to join us here, 603-283-6160, talking about Twitter taking down the @RealDonaldTrump account. It has been not just suspended, but according to the news here at CNN, suspended permanently. They say in the context of the horrific events this week, we've made it clear that additional violations of the Twitter rules would potentially result in this very course of action, claiming that Trump's tweets have risked incitement of violence, even though Trump himself never actually called for any kind of violence or destruction of property.
But he expressed opinions that they don't like. He didn't believe that the election was fair. And if you criticize an election in America now, they can silence you for that.
Because a political attack.
He was against the cult. Even though he's part of the cult of the state, he was against sort of the official way the state does things, which is to say that once the state has said this and
or at
that,
least the left does things, for sure.
Well, but I mean, if somebody on the left had done the same thing, they would have been probably ousted, because you can't go against the sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, the dogma or whatever. You can't go against the rituals of the state, and that's why you see when a new president gets elected, all the former presidents show up at the inauguration. It's what they're expected to do. Trump said he wasn't going.
Yes.
That was one of his final tweets.
That's awesome.
So, that's interesting. There's more coming up here. 603-283-6160. He's breaking the rules even while playing by them. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert. Permanently suspended. I'm Lisa Lacera. Twitter has deactivated President Trump's account.
Twitter put out a blog detailing its decision. And in that blog, Twitter says that President Trump's statement that he will not be attending the inauguration is being received by a number of his supporters as further confirmation that the election was not legitimate, and is being seen as him disavowing his previous claim via 2 tweets for an orderly transition on the 20th.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. This coming as Apple is threatening to remove the conservative social media app Parler from its app store. One article of impeachment expected to be introduced Monday against President Trump for incitement of insurrection. And the article states that President Trump engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors by willfully inciting violence against the government of the United States, as calls grow from the president to step down even from within his own party.
Alaska Republican Lisa Murkowski told the Anchorage Daily News she wants President Trump to resign, saying he's done enough damage. Murkowski has not shied away from criticizing the president at times, and she tells the newspaper the president incited protesters to storm the Capitol after he spoke near the Washington Monument. The Alaska Republican is up for re-election in 2022. Asked if she will remain with her party, Murkowski said if the Republican Party becomes nothing more than the party of Trump, she questions whether it's the party for her. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
President-elect Joe Biden says he has always said President Trump was unfit for office, and he reacted to word President Trump won't attend his inauguration.
I was told that on the way up here, way over here, that he indicated he wasn't going to show up at the inauguration. One of the few things he and I have ever agreed on. It's a good thing I'm not showing up.
America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
One of the lawyers who represented President Trump in some of his post-election lawsuits is being sued.
Dominion Voting Systems is suing pro-Trump lawyer Sidney Powell for defamation, and they're asking for more than $1.3 billion in damages. The suit accuses Powell of spreading, quote, demonstrably false allegations that included the accusation that Dominion played a role in a scheme to steal the 2020 election from President Trump. The 124-page complaint, filed in federal court in the District of Columbia, says Powell launched a, quote, disinformation campaign to financially enrich herself and to gain favor with the president. It also says after Powell made the accusations about Dominion, the company's workers were stalked and got death threats. There has been no formal court response from Powell. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Evangelical school Liberty University has sued Virginia Governor Ralph Northam, accusing his administration of wrongfully denying some of its online students financial aid. Northam and the state assembly made a budget change last year that made incoming students enrolled exclusively in online classes ineligible for the state's tuition assistance program. The lawsuit claims the eligibility changes were designed specifically to harm Liberty. A spokesperson for the governor's office says they don't comment on ongoing litigation. TikTok is banning videos related to Wednesday's violent protests on Capitol Hill.
The company saying in a statement, hateful behavior and violence have no place on TikTok, adding content or accounts that seek to incite, glorify, or promote.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
After visiting his girlfriend of 2 years at her workplace to deliver an unexpected threat for Valentine's Day, violent and controlling boyfriend Matthew Strachan spoke to The Onion about remaining a devoted and committed abuser.
On a special day like today, I like doing something extra malicious for Mallory, just so she knows that I've been thinking about hurting her. I mean, you should have seen the look on her face when I came and surprised her at work today. It was so great. I mean, she had no idea I was going to come to her office to belittle and frighten her. I mean, I wanted to do it in front of her friends to really humiliate her.
Strachan added that while he doesn't always get a chance to inflict harm on Mallory, he tries his best each and every day to create an environment of sustained physical and emotional abuse to leave her feeling completely alienated and powerless.
Just wait till she sees what I have in store for her tonight. I love Valentine's Day.
For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Of course, you can bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
We are talking about what has happened to Donald Trump on social media, and there were plenty of, canaries in the coal mine on this. Chris Cantwell, of course, was probably one of the earlier ones of people on the right who have been targeted by these platforms for not having an opinion that is popular with the platform, I guess, and being taken down. It was happening all over the place over the last several years, but now they're really showing their power, and they're taking down the President of the United States. Mm-hmm. Trump has been permanently banned from Twitter, which is, of course, his favorite thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
What is he doing now? I mean, last night, nobody, you were joking, and it might have been true, but what had happened was Trump had been, he had like a temporary suspension from Twitter initially a few days ago, and that was being reported on. And your joke last night was that Trump wanted to get back on Twitter so bad he was willing to make a video conceding the election.
Yeah,
because he came back onto Twitter and posted that video.
I'm just thinking, like, it would be funny if he actually ended up being his most productive 2 weeks in the history of his,
because he's not distracted with Twitter.
Yeah, he's not distracted with Twitter. Maybe we'll actually get those pardons, for Ross and a bunch of other people that we want.
Well, I appreciate your optimism, but I'm not expecting it.
Yeah. It's all overly optimistic. I'll give you that.
If he cared, he could have done it long before now.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right. But, who knows what he will do as a result of this? I mean, his video last night, some people were saying it's a deep fake or whatever, because he threw his own supporters under the bus.
Yeah.
Right. He said that he was going to see them prosecuted. That the people who were there that were inside the Capitol, he was calling for their full prosecution, and is saying that he gives up, that he, even though he doesn't agree with the election, he's going to give up power, and power is going to transition and all that, and boom, it's over. So he conceded. And yet within 24 hours, he's now been banned from Twitter permanently. Now get this, there's an explanation here, because if you look at what Trump actually posted, he only posted 2 tweets, apparently, since he came back. So there was the video and then 2 more tweets.
Okay.
And the tweets were as follows, quote, "The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first," in caps, and also in caps, "and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form," with 3 exclamation marks.
Yeah, he was wrong on that.
That was tweet number 1. And then after that, he said, quote, "To all of those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. Which is an interesting thing for him to say, because I don't know, is this the first time that a then former president has not attended the inauguration of the subsequent president? Because they've always done it the whole time I've been alive.
I don't know. I mean, I know it's that's the tradition.
It's
like,
the
that's
tradition.
what you do, but
the left wing comes to support the right wing comes to support the left wing, because at the end of the day, they're all statists. They all believe in the same religion.
It's about continuing the transition of government.
That's correct. And he's the only one in my lifetime who has made a statement like that. Now, to me, I just take that at face value, but Twitter has an interpretation of these statements. According to CNN, Twitter said the tweet concerning the inauguration could be viewed as a further statement that the election was not legitimate. It also
it's not about inciting violence.
No, it's not.
It's about questioning the election.
And it's about inciting violence. There's more. Twitter also said the tweet could be interpreted as Trump saying the inauguration would be a safe target for violence because he won't be attending.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
A fish could be interpreted as being a bicycle, but it would be being wrongly interpreted.
If the guy wanted, if he wanted to incite violence, he could have actually come out and incited violence, right?
He could do it like James
he's the president.
Does. He could be like, sure would be bad if somebody, smashed his head up against the pavement,
right?
Like, that's not calling for violence. But it's coming real close. He doesn't do that.
No.
They say that Trump's other statement about American patriots suggested that, quote, he plans to continue, support, empower, and shield those who believe he won the election, said Twitter.
Even the ones who
that's not
he
violence.
Threw under the bus.
That's not that's not advocating for violence by any stretch of the imagination, because most of the people who were supporting him were not advocating for violence.
Right. So it's both about the election and it's about violence. So it's about denying the certified state approved results of the state approved religious exercise of voting and all this. So that's one of them. And then it's oh my God, Trump's calling for people to bomb the inauguration.
That's absurd.
Wow.
Nowhere
so
in anything he said was that even remotely
just admit it. You wanted to ban Trump.
Yeah.
Just say it.
You're just using it as an excuse, and you're making up and you're twisting what he said.
They could have just said, we hate this guy. We don't want him here. Banned.
Yeah.
But no, they had to do this ridiculous
they have to
contorting.
somehow justify censorship is what they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's your update on Trump's latest ban. Now, there's more. PayPal and Shopify, according to CNET.com, are removing Trump-related accounts. Official MAGA merchandise is no longer for sale through Shopify from Trump-associated stores, and an account that supported Trump supporters who traveled to D.C. has been deactivated. Online commerce and payment services.
Somebody needs to tell them about Bitcoin.
Indeed.
Or Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin has an $11 average transaction fee right now.
Shopify actually has support for cryptocurrencies in their plugin system.
Really?
So you can actually accept cryptocurrency through it.
Not if they cancel your account.
That's correct. That's correct. But it's interesting because we actually know people who, I don't know what T-shirts are on the Free Talk Live store, but...
Mm-hmm. You mean LibertyMinded.com?
LibertyMinded, yeah. But
we don't have our own store. That's
I'm sorry,
the official
correction. Yes.
Store.
So the store in which you can get Free Talk Live T-shirts and other merchandise
is Shopify. He's got that.
Is on Shopify, and there are things that are not lefty; they're more righty. That could end up getting banned. The store. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
They've removed stores affiliated with Donald Trump from its platform, and payment processor PayPal shut down an account raising funds for Trump supporters who traveled to Washington, D.C. The moves come the day after the U.S. Capitol situation happened. So you've got Trump being taken down on social media, Trump supporters selling merchandise being taken down from places like PayPal, and then they go on in some history of how certain shops have taken down right-wingers over time. If you want to comment here, maybe you've seen these things happening in your life, you want to jump into the discussion, you can join us here at 603-283-6160. PayPal said the group raising money for Trump supporters called Joy and Liberty violated its rules, saying PayPal carefully reviews accounts to ensure our services are used in line with our long-standing policy. We don't allow PayPal services to be used to promote hate, violence, or other forms of intolerance. The same policy applies to Venmo, which they also listed as a payment option.
Mm-hmm. Of course, I was kicked off both of those for selling Bitcoin.
Yep.
Yeah, PayPal was the other one that was kicking people off here. So
yeah, they only want you to buy Bitcoin from PayPal.
And then you can't
do
do anything with it except sell it back to
That's
PayPal.
right.
That's true. That's true.
Whatever price they want.
It's purported Bitcoin.
But PayPal is also implementing a policy to kick people off that supported Trump or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's what we were talking about here.
Right, I know.
So that's basically that story. Just another example of how this trend is continuing of people being deplatformed all the way up to the president himself. But now let's talk about what happened and is happening to Gab. Gab, the alternative social media platform that is the most popular of all the Mastodon platforms out there. So again, we are talking about Mastodon as this alternative, and it's a good one that was created by some socialists.
Humorously.
But they didn't realize that the thing that they made could be used by the people on the right, apparently.
Yeah.
And they got mad about it when Gab decided to take Mastodon. And
it's a tweak on socialism.
And use it. So we'll talk about what happened to the guy who created Gab, because he's got a story to tell. If you want to join us, you can. 603-283-6160 here on Free Talk Live.
Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
The left-wing crackdowns on free speech, or even the semblance of it, have continued to intensify even as we've been doing this show. We just got a heads up from one of our listeners out there, Will, who says that now apparently the purported free speech centralized platform Parler, spelled P-A-R-L-E-R, which has gotten some news coverage in recent months as sort of another right-wing alternative. So it was Gab. Gab was, the hot thing 4 years ago, and now this Parler thing's gotten a lot of buzz. I haven't bothered with it. I just don't care about centralized, social media platforms.
Yeah, me either.
They don't do anything for me generally, but they're apparently been taken down from both Apple and Google's Play Store. So the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, I just verified it myself. You cannot, I don't have Apple, but I did check Google, and it's not there.
Yeah, and there's something else to point out. Even when Apple has something that you want to use, like say Telegram, Telegram has restricted channels that aren't available through the iPhone, iOS
You can't
platform.
get them on iOS.
Right. You can install
Not
Telegram,
available.
but you can't connect to certain rooms.
Right, whatever those might be. Maybe they're for sharing wares, or maybe they're terrorism channels or whatever, but
or maybe they're just
no. They're
anti-communist.
I don't.
Is there a list of them somewhere?
So the ones that are like terrorism or
Telegram will
piracy,
generally take down terrorism
will
channels,
take down,
but they don't take down piracy ones, I've heard.
They will take down piracy channels when they're ordered to by a court, and they have
but
in
they can't
Italy.
be in
I don't
the
know
US.
if it's everywhere, but they have taken down channels on Android and other platforms too. But Apple forces them to blacklist certain channels. So there are certain channels that are still on Telegram, but not available
Is
through
there a
the
list
Telegram.
of those channels somewhere? Has Telegram posted a
iOS
list of the
version.
channels that iOS doesn't allow? That would be interesting to see.
I
Or is it
know
secret?
I've seen I think screenshots of messages from people that I know who have tried to connect to channels on the iOS platform, and it's come up with a message saying this is like blocked or something like that, I believe.
We dug up a copy
But I don't know.
of the app itself from an Apple. If we dug out the
Apple bans the release of source
distribution
code.
file, then we could.
I don't know if that's possible because Apple bans the release of source code for its apps on its platform. Now, there's already source code available,
You can't
so I don't entirely know.
You can't release an open source app.
Something
through
like that.
App4?
Yeah, it can't be like
Wow.
licensed under GPL and stuff. And
Pavel Durov
my understanding
commented in October. So Pavel Durov is the founder of Telegram. He's the supposed Russian anarchist who created Telegram. According to Softpedia.com, the Telegrams was told if they don't ban 3 specific channels, now obviously that list could expand, right? But they were told that if they don't ban 3 channels, the app would be banned from the Apple App Store. Durov suggested, indicating there's a good chance his company would just comply with the request. He said, Apple's requesting we shut down 3 channels used by the people of Belarus to expose the identities of their oppressors. Durov revealed. Their concern is that publishing the personal information of law enforcers and propagandists may incite violence. So Apple's doing the bidding of the Belarusian government in this case.
Apple's a terrible company, and I would highly recommend not doing business with them.
Absolutely.
For so many reasons.
Or they just believe that once somebody has been recognized by the United Nations, that they should be able to do whatever they want to people and never be held accountable.
Right, it's
because
okay.
governments are magic.
Yeah, it's okay if the Belarusian government attacks their own people and uses violence against them, but oh my God, if somebody uses a Telegram channel to, plot back.
Yeah.
They can't.
Imagine if they defended themselves. Wouldn't that be awful?
But one of the reasons I don't look up to Telegram as much as I maybe would is because explicitly I would have chosen the other route and been like, okay, you don't want us on your platform, goodbye, and let people think the iPhone actually has like a market share.
It's
it
only
has
it's only a tenth, right?
But it's like really tiny at this point. Basically, Android. It took a little bit more time to get off the ground, and at one point the iPhone did have a more sizable percentage of the market, but it's basically nothing now. So
Durov said,
well, I'll tell you, Google is evil, and I don't like Google, and their policy used to be
I
don't
agree.
be evil, but
I agree.
they withdrew that policy.
At least you can
but they're not nearly as evil as Apple.
Yeah, at least with at least with Android phones, you can go and install a third-party app store or the packages directly from the publisher. So,
or you can just root the thing and wipe off the Google stuff entirely.
Right? Exactly. And Apple goes out of its way to stop you from rooting your phone.
Telegram's founder said, quote, I think the situation is not black and white and would rather leave the channels be, but typically Apple doesn't offer much choice for apps like Telegram in such situations. Unfortunately, I assume these channels will end up getting blocked on iOS, but remain available on other platforms. And that is one of the nice things about Telegram as far as it is available cross-platform. And it's not just Apple and Google. It's also available for Linux. It's available for, for Windows, desktop platforms as well. And there's way less control over those, right?
Yeah. I will say I would much rather people use Telegram than what are some other ones? What's WhatsApp?
Oh, that's terrible. That's owned by Facebook.
Yeah, or Facebook.
And
WhatsApp is Facebook.
Yeah, right. But doesn't Facebook have Facebook Messenger or something too?
They have their own Messenger. Yes, that's right.
I'm trying to think some of the other ones, or
WhatsApp
Signal maybe.
is also starting to feed data to Facebook in a way that they didn't do before, and there's been
because they weren't owned by Facebook in the beginning. Facebook bought.
That's
them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And for a few years they didn't ruin them. But it seems like Facebook has decided to ruin them now,
of course,
which has caused a big uptick in Signal downloads and in Telegram downloads.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you on this, Chris, that obviously the way to go, ideally, is to run your own server, but not everybody has that capability. Maybe you don't trust the people who are running the server, but definitely Matrix is the best way, right?
Yeah.
Like Matrix is the best bet as far as decentralization, federation, getting out from underneath the corporations and their control. But, once again, if the if iOS goes to Element, which is the Matrix client that you can download for your phone, they could do the exact same thing, right? They could say...
I don't even know if they would allow Matrix in the App Store because they're banning federated apps.
Right, that's what I'm saying, right? So,
I don't know.
Matrix is the best solution, but if you can't get your hands on the client, you're SOL.
Yeah.
Well, you can get rid of your
You'd have to get rid of
Apple
Apple.
phone.
Yeah, that's the only option.
Dump Apple. I mean, why would anybody... run?
I love how we have 4 people in the room and we're all agreeing with each other.
Yeah.
Why would anybody run a system? I mean, what if Straight Talk said we're going to control who you can talk to on your phone and what you can say?
I'm sorry, you can't dial that number.
Dump Straight Talk in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I don't understand why people, they use devices that work against their own interests. It's it just
they probably don't know.
Blows my mind. I guess you're right.
Don't know.
You're right. But even when you tell people about it, it's like there's a lot of people that just don't care. I mean, it's like. What's it going to take? I mean, if you don't understand that right now, it doesn't affect you, but tomorrow it will.
Yeah.
Alternatives. It's very difficult to escape. I haven't managed to get a phone that I can run anything but Android on, and Android is my enemy. Yeah. I feel like my phone is an enemy in my pocket.
I know, but
you can root it and put on Lineage OS or something like that.
Not unless you have certain very expensive phones.
No, almost all the Androids
there's some pretty
I've
cheap
ever
ones.
had.
$200 you can
More
do it
coming
on.
up here. Free Talk Live.
July 25th, we adopted April. She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany. But when she started scratching like crazy, I said to John, it's got to be her food. What you put into a dog is what you get out. We heard this radio commercial, and this woman was so excited about Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I said to John, I'm getting this. So the Dinovite comes, and I thought, a light bulb moment. She loves her dog food. She always leaves a little bit in her bowl. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in it, and then we swished it around like gravy. She dove into that bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. So that's been the routine. April gets Dinovite for dessert. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dinovite is nutrition. She even walks like a little princess.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
There we go. Sorry about that. It's Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves here. Our number is 603-283-6160. In the studio with you here tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
Hey, Chris.
And we're going to continue. We will take your calls and thoughts. We're talking about the crackdown on online speech. We're seeing it come from these mega corporations like Twitter and Facebook. We know it's been going on. We've been talking about this for years. Here on Free Talk Live, and encouraging our listeners to get off of these platforms. Migrate your way off. If Trump were smart, he would have seen the writing on the wall. If he hadn't seen it prior to the election season, it should have been pretty obvious once they started flagging his posts and restricting them and, putting these warnings on them. Should have seen the writing on the wall and said, I should open up my own Mastodon server or go get an account on Gab. I mean,
I just realized something that would be great fun, which is to hack your browser so that when there was a Facebook warning on a post, it said something like, Facebook has determined that this post is not left-wing.
That would be funny.
So therefore, it's not acceptable.
Yes.
Right. So what he could have done is he could have launched his own account on maybe his own server. He could certainly afford to run his own server. He can afford to hire an IT guy to do this. So he could totally have had his own Trump Mastodon if he wanted to. Had his own posts right at the top of the website,
Maybe that's the outcome of this, is maybe he will finance a social media platform. He could certainly finance one and give it a start to become and he could provide them with millions of millions of
and
users.
he would be able to get the word out about it because he could get an appearance on Fox News or whatever and talk about it.
The other thing is that he should be doing is he should not only get on Mastodon, but he should get on Mastodon and encourage all of his followers to tweet whatever he says. Bridge it. And that's the kind of system that our caller earlier was talking about. He could easily he could easily start bridging to Twitter. And does Twitter want to kick 75 million users off?
That's a lot of users.
How's that going to affect their bottom line?
Yeah. Just to give people perspective, there's 320 million people in the United States. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Think about it, they're not all on Twitter, so it's an even bigger percentage than you would otherwise think.
Yeah, if you still have an account on these big platforms, use it to get the word out about your new account on the other one. So when you start a Mastodon account, just put it up there, put a pinned post on your existing social media saying, hey, I'm migrating off of Twitter, I'm migrating off of Facebook. You don't have to delete your account right away, but give your friends and family an opportunity to know what's happening to you and where you're going and why. And in that way, if the hammer comes down on your account, at least you had a head start. You had a head start to be able to say, okay, well, I'm over here, I'm establishing this thing.
It's way better to do that than to wait until after they've already suspended your account.
Then it gets harder to get the word out about it.
Right.
If you're Donald Trump, people will pay attention to you. But where do I go if I want to see what Donald Trump's saying right now? I mean, not that I care that much, but I'm honestly curious.
I'd like to know what he's saying.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, he's entertaining.
Well, he's entertaining, but more importantly, it's like. I'd like to know how he's responding to just this issue that we're talking about. I have to say,
I've never followed him, and I've never wanted to follow him until now.
Yeah.
It's like...
I actually did have a follow for him. I follow a number of politicians who I don't agree with. And
I don't have to agree with him to want to hear what he has to say, but I've never had any reason to want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, he's the first politician who I've ever followed, just because he's entertaining.
He is entertaining.
Yeah, he is.
I don't agree with him.
He's a monster in a lot of ways, but he's a world-class troll.
Did any other presidents prior to him actually even have a social media type account?
Barack Obama certainly did. Whether he was the actual tweeter is another question.
Interesting.
I mean, it could have been one of his staff, right?
Yeah.
Almost certainly.
Probably
I can't
was.
imagine Obama.
But Trump really
Trump
is tweeting.
Definitely is really
because they've
tweeting,
seen him on his phone and then seen a tweet go
Yeah.
So Apple and Google have told free speech social media app, quote unquote free speech, social media app Parler, because all these centralized apps that claim to be free speech, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, because as soon as somebody shows up there that's too controversial or whatever, they're going to be you're done.
Well, the other thing is, if they're a corporation, then as soon as somebody shows up with a court order.
I would go so far as to say you can't be pro free speech and offer a central or social media platform, because they're just in conflict with each other. I mean, you're going to eventually have to censor somebody.
Somebody's going to go too far.
Because of a court order.
Yeah.
Unless it's decentralized, you're not really providing a platform that's really pro-free speech, even if you are pro-free speech.
And that's why I say self-hosting is the only answer in the end.
I think decentralization is probably the answer.
Even a self-host would be targeted by a court order.
Your hosting company could potentially kick you off too. So you really need to have it decentralized, because a decentralized platform is going to have that copy, but so will hundreds or thousands of other servers as well. And even if they kick you off, your host kicks you off because of a court order, then you're not going to get that message, taken off all the other hundreds or thousands of servers.
So a good example of that would be a blockchain-based platform, like say Twitch, which is based on the BSV, the Bitcoin SV blockchain, where you can post photographs and you can post, whatever content, as I understand it, that you want to. I have experimented with it. Now, while Twitch itself is a centralized website, they're using that blockchain, so anyone else could take the same data from the blockchain and have that in their app, so on and so forth. So that's probably your best bet in that case.
And there's also the old school protocols. I mean, NNTP was the platform that interpreted the statement that the net interprets censorship as damage and routes around it.
To some degree, there was and is censorship on it still, but there
are anti-spam efforts.
It's
but
more
those
than anti-spam.
have to be widespread.
It's more than anti-spam. I forget exactly what they were doing, but I think even way back, even I don't know about the 90s, but maybe post 2000, there were definitely servers that you could connect to, but they wouldn't have. There would be certain groups that obviously that wouldn't be imported or hosted or whatever for reasons that I don't want to get into, but obviously I think we can all have an idea.
I doubt that any server out there carried every Usenet group in existence.
Yeah, but if
you were running your own NNTP server, you could connect to a number of different other NNTP servers, and you could collect the whole set, except that nobody in the world has enough hard drive space to store the whole set.
I would agree. I would agree with you. It's a better system. I'm just thinking more of, well, what would your average individual user do? And they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna be running their own NTP servers, so they're gonna be censored.
Well, but they don't be the average person. Then that's
NNTP. But a totally decentralized solution would solve that problem, right?
Yeah, and really, you could actually solve it very easily by embedding an NNTP server in your NNTP client.
We're getting too deep into the weeds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry.
You guys have a problem doing that. It's a good thing I'm sitting here because
yes, please stop us when we get too technical.
Somebody stop me.
NNTP is news groups, and that's an old internet thing that was, I think, at the beginning, basically,
it's
or near
still around,
to the beginning.
Actually.
It is still there.
People still use it for.
You can still find them
for like piracy and.
Are they still doing wares on news groups?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, it's really a thing.
So, you can learn more about that on your own time. Just search for it.
But if I'm here and you're here, isn't it our time?
Apple and Google have now banned the Parler app, saying that Google suspended them from the Play Store, saying, quote, continued posting in the Parler app that seeks to incite ongoing violence in the U.S. So basically, they're saying they want Parler to crack down on what people are saying on their apps, or else they don't get listed on the App Store.
They can't question whether the election was legitimate.
603-283-6160. You can join us here. Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. For now, we're still here, still able to speak, so we're going to keep doing it. Even though we were just looking at a local activist group called Absolute Defiance, they're the ones that have been doing a lot of the governor's protests outside the governor's house that some of us have been to. And they have had multiple members have their accounts be taken down just tonight by Facebook, and being given no specific reason why, just that something they posted. This is what Facebook actually said. Something you posted.
That's what they always say.
We know
what they
why.
always say to me.
It's because that group is certainly not left. And anybody who's not left is being censored right now.
The thing is,
they're being a
that
target.
group
They're being
should
attacked.
Be as left as it is right, because back in the day, pre-Trump, there were a lot of leftists who didn't trust Big Pharma. And
now they're lining up for their shots.
What happened to the leftists who didn't trust Big Pharma? They used to be out there. What, have they changed their minds? Have they embraced, Merrick and Upjohn?
Well, now that there's a vicious cold going around that you might die if you,
if you're one out of 200 people,
chance of dying. Now all of a sudden they trust vaccines and pharma, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's insane. It really is. If you want to join us here, 603-283-6160. Parler being suspended from the Google Play Store tonight, saying that Google claiming that Parler is allowing people to post things that they say are inciting violence. Quote, in order to protect user safety on Google Play, our longstanding policies require that apps displaying user-generated content have moderation policies and enforcement that removes egregious content, like posts that incite violence. All developers...
Any questioning of an election now.
All right, I want to know how
we haven't seen the post.
How are they going to apply this to web browsers?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's exactly what they're saying, right? If you can connect to user-generated content, okay, any server out there, right?
I presume Parler has a website. So couldn't you just go on the Chrome browser to the Parler website?
You can, I'm sure, yeah. And this is the other problem. It's like, why would it be banned from the App Store, but it wouldn't be banned in why is there not a blacklist in the browser that comes with Android?
Don't give them ideas. They haven't thought of that one yet, apparently.
Google Chrome even. Produced
seriously.
by Google itself.
Right.
Google
doesn't have a blacklist.
Google needs to be banned.
Google needs to be banned from Google.
Google needs to ban itself, and so does Apple, because neither of them have a blacklist in their own browsers.
That'd be nice. They say here, all developers agree to these terms, and we have reminded Parler of this clear policy in recent months. We're aware of continued posting in the Parler app that seeks to incite ongoing violence in the U.S. We recognize that there can be reasonable debate about content policies, that it can be difficult for apps to immediately remove all violative content, but for us to distribute an app through Google Play, we do require that apps implement robust moderation for egregious content. In light of this ongoing and urgent public safety threat, we are suspending the app's listings from the Play Store until it addresses these issues.
I think that they should also suspend anyone who carries statements from the government justifying war, because nothing is more encouraging of violence than, for example, the lies that were told to justify the invasion of Iraq.
Right.
And I think that everyone who lied to justify the invasion of Iraq should be banned from Facebook, Twitter, and every other social media outlet in the world.
I don't agree with that, but I will say at
these
least,
are government officials. They don't have rights.
Well, I will say that, the policy should be equally enforced, right? Like that would make sense. It is dangerous to not equally enforce, laws and rules and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, because basically we've got rules for the right and none for the left.
Right, they're only
you can incite violence on behalf of Black Lives Matter, and I support Black Lives Matter. Don't get me wrong, but I can go out and say that was great that Black Lives Matter burned down that fire station, but I've said it, but I can't say that it was great that somebody on the right did the same
You
thing.
can't even say less than that. You can't even say that you were in what was it?
Nancy Pelosi's office.
Pelosi's office.
Right.
And that not even relating
I would
to
never
not
go
even
in
relating
there.
to the whole the whole riot basically that occurred.
Yeah. That's wow.
According to the story here, Parler is no longer available in Google Play. This is Engadget reporting. Though, if you previously installed the app, you can continue to use it. So, if you can acquire the app somehow through like an APK download,
I'm sure you can download it directly from Parler.
If they haven't put it on their front page, they should.
If you go to Parler's website, you could probably download it, and that's what I would suggest people do. Although I'm not suggesting people use Parler.
I will probably go download Parler just on general principle.
I would go and switch to a decentralized platform. Go look at Mastodon. I don't know what else is out there as far as
What are the best Mastodon servers? There's Gab. There's Liberdon.
I wouldn't call that one of the best.
Oh, I would. It looks great. Have you been to that site?
I've been to it. I had an account on it, and
I've got one
I just
there.
don't enjoy it.
I mean, that doesn't mean you have to spend time there. So I can post there without spending time there, right? I have an automated system through IFTTT where if I post a thing on my Telegram channel and then it shoots it out to Mastodon, it shoots it to Liberdon, which is a Mastodon instance for libertarians. It shoots it to Gab just because I don't want it to just be on Liberdon. I want it to be on like more than one Mastodon.
Well, anybody who subscribes to your feed should get it, regardless of what host
and
they're
they can
on.
subscribe directly to my Telegram channel.
Right. That's another way. Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, Telegram's not decentralized or federated.
No, but what feed were you talking about?
Your Mastodon feed.
I have two of them. So there's one on
so they can subscribe
Liberdon.
to that, and it doesn't matter what node they're on or what server they're connected
If Liberdon goes down, then that's gone.
Yeah.
And Liberdon had an issue recently where it was all messed up.
Sure.
Something was wrong.
But if
Liberdon.
somebody is on other servers, as long as your node stays up, right? As long as you're
That's
not
what I'm
on a
saying.
node
If
that
Liberdon goes down, that's why I shoot it to two different Mastodon servers. So I shoot it to Gab, which is a Mastodon server, and to Liberdon. So if Liberdon goes down, all my posts are still over on Gab, and vice versa.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
There are a lot of people also who not only don't federate with Gab, but won't federate with anybody who does federate with Gab.
Yeah, and I don't know. So I know our servers are not blocking Gabs, and I have tried it and subscribed. I created an account on Gab just to test it, and you can subscribe to our feed if you're on Gab.
That's because you haven't disconnected from them.
Right, that's true.
By default, you're connected to them, from what I understand. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to choose to break the bonds.
Right.
603-283-6160. Apple also threatened to ban Parler if the company doesn't rein in violent threats, and the news tonight is that they have. Now, we have no way of verifying it because no one in the studio has Apple, so we can't go in.
Or will have Apple.
Right.
Given their
we can't go
position.
and check that.
I mean, I do have a Droid, and obviously Google has banned them, but I can go other places, download that APK, and run it if I so desire. But Apple has everything so locked down that you don't own your Apple. Apple owns your Apple.
Apple
They're
owns
letting
you.
you use it so long as you use it the way they want you to use it.
Here's what Parler CEO John Matze said about this happening. He said that looks like Parler is not effectively moderating and removing content that encourages illegal activity. He said further that the iPhone maker gave him 24 hours to create a, quote, moderation improvement plan. He said he previously said that he disagrees with Apple's moderation practices, saying, quote, apparently they believe Parler is responsible for all user-generated content on Parler. Therefore, by the same logic, Apple must be responsible for all actions taken by their phones. Parler,
boy.
yeah. So he's not happy about it. It doesn't sound like he's going to be bending to their will. So
I hope
that's
he
good.
doesn't.
Good
I hope
for
he
him.
doesn't. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, if he does,
I'll be skeptical.
His profit is I mean, if you get to where you can't question the outcome of an election, you can't say, I don't trust this public official, or I don't think this person should be in office, then why would you want to be on their side?
The only way this changes is if people stand up to the bullies. All right, that's the only way this is going to change. So,
I mean, some of them are actually suggesting violence. Somebody said, "Get the firing squads ready. Pence goes first."
But that's not your fault as the developer of the Parler app. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah. Let people be held responsible for their own statements. But these companies do not believe in free speech. They believe they get to decide, and it's very scary stuff.
Absolutely.
There's more coming up here. 603-283-6160. If you want to weigh in, you can join us here, or call us through our Matrix server. Go to chat.lrn.fm to learn how. It's Free Talk Live. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Permanently banned. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. After suspending President Trump's account for 12 hours this week over his claims of election fraud and his failure to immediately denounce the riots at the Capitol, Twitter has now taken it one step further, citing the risk of further incitement of violence.
The use of the words American patriots in earlier tweets to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violent acts at the U.S. Capitol. And a tweet that he put out earlier today about his supporters having a giant voice long into the future and that they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form is being interpreted as further indication that President Trump does not plan to facilitate an orderly transition and instead that he plans to continue to support, empower, and shield those who believe that he won the election.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. House Democrats plan to introduce one article of impeachment against the president on Monday.
The resolution proposes that President Trump be charged with incitement of insurrection. It focuses on Wednesday's action by the president, which wording says encouraged and led to imminent lawless action at the U.S. Capitol as pro-Trump activists stormed the building.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Colorado prosecutors taking a closer look at the case of a black man who died while in police custody.
The Colorado Attorney General announcing a grand jury investigation into the death of Elijah McClain, a 23-year-old black man who was placed in a chokehold and then given a sedative as officers responded to a suspicious person report in August of 2019. McClain suffered cardiac arrest and later died.
Fox's Lisa Brady. Separately, prosecutors have decided to not charge another group of Aurora officers over the treatment of 4 black girls ages 6 to 17 suspected of being in a stolen car. They were detained at gunpoint, calling for policy changes instead. America is listening to Fox News.
Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office, 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
As the U.S. sees record cases and deaths of COVID-19, so does Britain.
Britain's latest daily coronavirus update contains some big numbers. Officials say 1,325 COVID deaths were recorded in 24 hours. That's a record across the pandemic. More than 68,000 new cases were also logged, another record.
I'm afraid this virus is out of control.
The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, says his city's hospitals are stretched.
Unless the virus reduces and there are a few people going to hospital, we could run out of beds.
The government here blames the surge on a new and particularly contagious variant of the virus. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
Los Angeles city officials say they will keep using a test for COVID-19 that the Food and Drug Administration has said could produce false negatives. California company Curative says it's working with the FDA to address concerns. In North Carolina, they're hoping to prioritize one segment of the population when it comes to distributing the vaccine.
Prison populations are believed to be risky for coronavirus spread. North Carolina will be directing some of its allotted vaccine doses to its state prisons, but wants to incentivize inmates to take it. North Carolina's Prisons Commissioner says they're considering perks like extra visitations for inmates who agree to be inoculated. More than 4,000 people in North Carolina are hospitalized due to COVID-19, though only 9 of them are prisoners.
A new study released this week based on extensive psychological profiling of some of the world's most notorious serial murderers found that their homicidal instincts can be traced to a single incident in childhood when they were denied a toy that they really wanted.
Nearly all violent serial offenders, from John Wayne Gacy and Jeffrey Dahmer to the DC snipers, exhibited their first violent impulses shortly after being told as children that a video game was too expensive, or that they had a perfectly good Lego set at home and they could make do with that.
Researchers found that an isolated occurrence in which a parent refuses to buy a stuffed animal or candy bar for their child can immediately trigger the development of sociopathic tendencies.
I was in such a blind rage that I went up to my room, sawed the heads off all my action figures, and ejaculated into their body cavities.
This was most notably the case with Jeffrey Dahmer, who began decapitating stray dogs and placing their heads on spikes shortly after being denied an Etch-a-Sketch.
This is the Onion News Network.
In what medical authorities are calling one of the worst ointment complications in White Plains Hospital's history, area girlfriend Caroline Nagler was rushed to the ER this week after suffering an extreme overdose of scented lotion. With a blood lotion level of 0.45, hospital sources confirmed that Nagler had rubbed onto her body 4 times the lethal limit of shea butter, green tea cleanses, and naturally soothing mineral therapies.
Even putting aside the sheer level of lotion Miss Nagler had on her person when she arrived at the ER, this was an especially lethal combination she was using. She was mixing scented moisturizers, age-defying serums, and even some harder stuff like jojoba and essential fruit extracts. Frankly, she's lucky to be alive.
In other news, Beijing's air solidifies. A Delta Airlines counteragent assures a man he will never see his family again. And a mannequin must think he's some pretty hot They say if you love something, let it go. But how could we possibly leave you behind after being blessed with a relationship as unique and complex as this one? For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Hour number 3, we're kicking it off now. You can join us here and bring up anything you want. Our number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We've been, throughout the show tonight, focusing on what has been happening with these social media behemoths, Twitter, Facebook, and also Google and Apple, who are using their influence and their control over a lot of these apps to basically tell apps like Parler that, hey, you better do what we say or you're done for.
Yeah.
And they took down Parler tonight as a result of that. Which is an alternative social media.
Consent is done.
I think it's something to point out because people are like, "Oh, you just hate Apple," and I want to point out that it's a little bit clarify something. Both Apple and Google have banned Parler from their respective app stores.
Right.
However, unlike Apple, you can install an app independent of the App Store.
Right.
So Apple has effectively banned Parler altogether from its platform and ability to use it on its platform. Google hasn't done that. They've only banned it from the App Store or Play Store.
Which is going to basically
on Android.
effectively ban it from most people.
It will, but there is an option.
People, but anybody who wants to,
they can find a way
go around it.
There is an option. It's not hard to find in the settings to enable you to install third-party apps. You do have to check it, but once you've checked that off, you can go and you can download the Parler app, presumably assuming the Parler provides an app from the website, from the Parler website. So.
We're going to go to your calls and your thoughts here. We'll go first to Nug Lover, who is calling on our Matrix server via the Jitsi plugin there, which is a pretty sweet way to call in because you'll sound great. You can join our Jitsi, or you can join our Matrix server over at chat.lrn.fm. That's where you get the step-by-step instructions on how to get on there. Nug Lover, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I was, having some nugs and I was watching YouTube.
You sound like it.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, you've been loving some nugs tonight.
All right, just
Not
remember.
that there's anything wrong with that.
Just remember we're on the radio, so you got to keep it radio clean. Go ahead.
Yeah, so imprecatory prayer is like when you pray for bad things to happen to people.
Oh, really? I've never heard that term before. Imprecatory?
Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. Yeah.
Interesting.
I heard about it a few years ago, and then it kept popping in my mind for some reason. So it's but if it was real, then it would really explain a lot,
You're saying if prayer was real?
No, well, in particular, imprecatory prayer. Like if you could curse people, because there's so much negativity, on the social media and news cycle.
Well, I'm pretty sure the witches believe in things like that, right? Isn't that why they have hexes? They cast hexes on people?
Well, it
have you
depends on your definition of witch. Most of them are just herbal healers.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guru on YouTube called Sad Guru. Have you heard of him? He's
Nope.
He's got this theory or something called inner engineering. So it's a theory that we can kind of communicate with our own cells. And even just completely re-engineer ourselves, or
mind over matter.
Yeah, yeah, maybe it's possible to engineer viruses and bacteria just at will. If we could talk to ourselves. Didn't
I think that's an interesting
heal
theory.
People by
That's
Jesus heal people by crying on them or something?
I don't know. I'm not sure what his method was, but it is an interesting theory, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that what you think is very, very powerful over your body. I mean, if you look at, for instance, the placebo effect, and there's so much documentation of the placebo effect that says that if a person believes that this fake pill is going to do a thing, that in a lot of cases, that thing happens. So effectively, they sort of manifest whatever the results are that they're looking for. So I totally buy that that's a possibility.
And not just that. The reason for double-blind studies is that if the person carrying out a study believes that the pill is going to have a particular effect, it may well have that effect. And scientists acknowledge that by doing double-blind studies, so that neither the researcher nor the subject knows what's being done.
I was going to say maybe a sneeze is like subconsciously your body engineering like a virus or like a message, you know, and then so you're supposed to sneeze on someone, you know, because you're subconsciously your body engineers like a cure for them or something, or even maybe a curse for them, you know, and that's why people say bless you.
I sneeze when I'm stressed out, interestingly enough. I'm allergic to stress, I guess.
Hey, Nugglever, thanks for calling and sharing your thoughts here tonight. I think there's a lot more, you know,
vicariously sharing your nugs.
People don't understand about the human body and you know the lives that we're experiencing. There's, you know, science is interesting, but it doesn't know everything. So a lot of this stuff, maybe it can be manifested. Anyway,
but the science is settled.
Right. 603-283-6160. If you want to join us, you can take control of the airwaves. So I said we should talk about the Gab guy. So we've been talking about social media all night long. What about this guy that, you know, before 2020, years ago, he founded an alternative site and encouraged people who were being blacklisted and encouraged people who were being taken down in the early days of takedowns, right? 2016 or 2015 or whatever it was. He writes at his own website at gab.com. Now, this was actually a little earlier this year. It was over the summer. He says, as many of you know, we learned last week that Visa blacklisted Gab, and we're now unable to process credit and debit card transactions. We learned more information this week, and I think it's important that I share it as a warning for others. It's not just that Gab is blacklisted. It's also my family. In China, there's something called the social credit system, which was developed by the Communist Chinese Party as a national reputation system. This system tracks the so-called trustworthiness of individuals, businesses, and organizations. Trustworthiness here means total and complete submission to the Chinese Communist Party. If the Communist Party deems you to be untrustworthy, you are denied access to plane tickets, train tickets, opening and operating businesses, and more. And he points out that 26.82 million air tickets as of June 2019. According to the National Development and Reform Commission of China, 26.82 million air tickets as well as almost 6 million high-speed rail tickets have been denied to people who are deemed untrustworthy and placed on this blacklist, and 4.37 million untrustworthy people have chosen to fulfill their duties required by law. He says, to most Americans, this sounds horrifying, and it is. I know from firsthand experience because this social credit system exists in the United States. While it may not be sanctioned by the U.S. government, it most certainly has been deployed by U.S. corporations.
It's called a driver's license, man.
Who today have in many ways more power, data, and control over our lives than the government does. Many of these corporations also happen to be endorsing and raising money for communist organizations, revolutionaries, and the domestic terrorists burning down our cities. We were told this week that not only is Gab blacklisted by Visa as a business, but my personal name, phone number, address, and more are also blacklisted by Visa. If I wanted to leave Gab tomorrow, something that he says isn't going to happen, and start a lemonade stand, I wouldn't be able to obtain merchant processing for it, simply because my name is Andrew Torba. If my wife wants to start a business, she won't be able to obtain merchant processing because she lives at the same address as me and would be flagged by Visa. And indeed, nobody, you and I, have had issues with addresses, or at least we suspect, as far as opening bank accounts and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, we've clearly been blacklisted by the banking cartel, and it is a cartel, because if you're not a cartel, you can't have cross-organization blacklists.
Now, we haven't been totally blacklisted. I've still been able to open bank accounts here and there, and so it is. We're not completely on the outs, but there's definitely some of them that are sharing information.
Just because the blacklist hasn't caught up to you at a particular bank yet doesn't mean that you're not blacklisted.
That's
at
what I'm saying.
bank.
There are some banks that are sharing information, but maybe not all of them are on the same list or
and
whatever.
We both know know. Like, I won't take a check from anybody because I know that if I use my bank account, it'll be closed.
Oh, yeah. Mark Edge, our co-host, had his bank account. He wasn't even selling Bitcoin. He was actually, well, I can tell you more about it. But anyway, he had his bank account closed. We'll tell you why coming up here in moments. 603-283-6160. Here, it's Free Talk Live.
Bear, the rescue dog, had very flaky skin, dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections. I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
Probably 6 weeks after we started using Dinovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch. It was awesome.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dinovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. And, of course, you can bring up absolutely anything you want. We've been talking about what happened to the guy who runs Gab. He's written a story over at his website, gab.com, about being blacklisted by Visa. Not just Gab, but him and his wife and apparently other family members as well. We can get back into that story coming up here. I also want you to know about Bitcoin.com. Bitcoin hit $42,000 earlier today. It's currently sitting at about $40,360. So it hit another all-time high earlier today. And if you haven't taken the time to learn about it, you probably should. Head on over to Bitcoin.com and click Get Started right there at the top of the page.
It's made me $1,000.
Yep. Yeah, one of the guys that runs a store that's got a local Bitcoin vending machine in it said, if only my customers had gone in and spent $20 a week, they'd be doing real good if they'd done that over the last year on Bitcoin. But people wait, and it's not too late, though, I don't think. I think it's likely going to continue to see good things come to it. You can go to Bitcoin.com, click Get Started, watch the 2-3 minute long first video there, and watch more if you have time, so you can learn the basics about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as it turns 12 years old this month. It was, I think, earlier this week that it did that, so congratulations, Bitcoin.
The low last year was, what, 8,000?
No, it was lower than that last year. It was like 7.
Wow.
At least.
So you could have
Maybe
made 6x if you'd bought at the low. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It's been an amazing run. Bitcoin.com. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. CW is on the line in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, howdy, guys. Instead of investing in Bitcoin, I think I'll invest in a bunch of ammo.
Well, if things go as I expect, people may be willing to trade some Bitcoin for ammo in the future.
Why not do both?
Well,
I'm not going to trade Bitcoin for ammo. I'm just going to buy ammo and trade for anything else.
No, he was suggesting that if you bought ammo, you could get Bitcoin for it in the future. That's what nobody was saying.
I know.
Because, eventually you're going to want some currency.
Me personally.
Unless you're just going to shoot people to get what you want.
I don't know if I want to get Bitcoin is what I'm saying. That's
Why not?
That's not for everybody.
But, okay.
Yeah,
anyways,
if you don't want 400% return in a year, then, don't get it.
Well,
There's no guarantee that will happen.
All right.
I might take a couple of years.
I'm not too into Bitcoin, and I'm not sure. I don't know much about it, so it's hard for me to.
So that's why we promote Bitcoin.com.
Yeah, you got to learn.
Where you can go and watch a 2 to 3 minute video and see what the basics are. But again, there's no guarantee. It went up 400% in the last year, but there's no guarantee it'll do that a second time in a row.
Yeah,
it might go up 800%.
But hey, a guarantee is that a bullet will kill somebody. That's the guarantee.
Not necessarily.
You have to aim it.
Not necessarily. It will highly injure them. Okay, that's not why I'm calling.
You underestimate how bad people are at shooting.
Yeah.
Especially
that's
on the left.
not why I'm calling.
Practice makes
perfect. That's not why I'm calling.
Okay, why are you calling, CW?
Okay, I was just going to say the placebo effect. You guys are talking about it.
Yeah.
The news can scare you and scare you and scare you about something. And you've heard of you're scared to death. If they scare you enough, you will die from what they're scaring you from. Oh, this virus. You will just be scared to death, and you'll have a heart attack and just die.
Sure.
That's a placebo effect, right?
It's lucky I don't believe a word the media says.
Right.
Except for me when I'm on the radio.
Well, yeah,
and I'm not even sure about that.
There are the people that are called hypochondriacs, right? There are people who are constantly under the belief that they're getting sick, and what do you know? They get sick because that's what their belief system is.
John Stossel actually did a great series called "Are We Scaring Ourselves to Death?"
And that's scared to death, just straight up scared to death. And then my second point is, you guys are talking about social media apps. It broke on my local station, KTOX in Needles, California, 1340 AM, 104.1 FM. It broke that Browsely. Browsely is another free speech app. Browsely. If you do that, if everybody can get to Browsely, then that's another app that people can have a media outlet and free speech. So Just
And
saying
what is it?
The Browsly, BROWSLY.
What does it do?
Browsly. It's a free speech app. It's a free speech media. They don't censor. They don't do anything. And it's two immigrants that founded it, one from South Africa and one from Russia. And they understand that, suppression. They understand suppression, and that's why they created this app, to get around the suppression.
Yeah, but it's not going to work against Apple and Google. I'm looking at their site right now, and they're promoting an app, and it doesn't seem like they even have a web version. So without a web version, if you can't go on a browser and log into this site, you're done for, because all that's going to happen is Apple's going to come down on them just like they did with Parler.
Well, that's Apple, but Google can't stop you from running.
It's on Google Play right now. I just looked at it. It's on Google Play.
Right, that's because they're too
is it?
small. Okay, they haven't gotten the same attention that Parler has gotten this year. Parler got a lot of attention earlier this year. They had a lot of people sign up for it, and now you've got the people who are on the left going and reporting Parler to Google and Apple, and Google and Apple are now taking down that app from their app stores. And you're correct that someone who wants to can go and find the Parler app, and if they want to jump through the hoops, they can download the APK. They can turn off the setting that prevents third-party APKs from being installed. I mean, it's not that hard to do, but it's kind of like, going and downloading a torrent. Most people won't ever do it. It's not that hard to do it. You can go and find your favorite TV show online right now on the Pirate Bay or X1337 or one of these torrent sites, but it takes a few extra steps, and the average person just not willing to go through those steps.
Well, the average person isn't useful for very much anyway.
That's true.
So it's not worth getting them on your side too much.
But my point here is this app may be great, but that's only because they haven't been targeted yet. And they don't have a web component. You can't just go to their website and log in.
But they will develop it. They will develop it eventually when there's enough traffic. Come on now.
They should have done it beforehand.
Let's just be optimistic here. Let's be optimistic.
I'm not optimistic about any centralized systems. I'm not. I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's good that they're trying to compete, but there's no social media site out there that gets me excited. Long time ago,
we're screwed. We're just screwed.
No,
we're screwed.
No, we've given solutions earlier. So I would recommend you look into Mastodon, which is a self-hosted alternative to Twitter, and there are other self-hosted alternatives like Matrix for chatting.
Federated, so there's not one party in control, basically.
Correct, and there can be thousands of instances.
You don't even
there.
have to have your own instance. You can sign up for an instance of that is run by other like-minded individuals to you.
Correct, and Gab is one example of that. It's the most successful Mastodon. That's what we're talking about here tonight, CW. But hey, thank you for the call. I do appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just there's always been these sort of Facebook alternatives. I remember what was the one years ago, Diaspora or Diaspora?
That was like decentralized or
That's what they said.
That's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is anyone using it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Some people are, but nobody isn't.
Yeah.
I haven't tried.
283-6160.
Maxwell, he was a runaway to rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she says, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she says it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I had been listening to the Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10, and the Dynavite's a big part of Maxwell's diet. Dynavite for life.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And, of course, you can join us online over at freetalklive.com. Tonight, we've just been all about the decentralized alternatives and some centralized alternatives. Somebody was just asking here, a guest in the studio, inquiring regarding Telegram. I said, well, yeah, we talked about that in the first hour, but it's worth mentioning again. Telegram is a great little app, and one of the reasons why it's great is because they're not based in the United States. So they don't have the same level of sort of jurisdictional control over them that some of these U.S.-based companies that are trying to appease. Like companies like Google and Facebook, you know, these are appeasers. They want to appease the U.S. federal government, and they're doing their bidding. Basically.
Well, you know what Churchill said about appeasers?
No, what?
He said an appeaser is a man who will throw his children to the alligators in hopes that they will eat him last.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to point out that there's actually, Telegram does give you more control over your device. So the people who are developing it have released what's called source code, and it kind of tells you what's going on behind the scenes. So even though you might not personally know what that does or means or anything, it means that there's other people who are able to look at the code and see.
Telegram's
it's
open
not doing
source?
anything. Yeah.
Really? That's good to know.
Telegram is open source on the client side.
It's not decentralized. Right.
They don't publish their
server
encryption algorithm, which Signal does. I just read an article on this today that compared WhatsApp, Signal, and does
Signal
Telegram.
publish their server code?
Signal, I don't know if they publish their server code, but they're like my understanding is that the encryption is end to end, so it basically they don't have to in order for you to know that your communications are secure from them because basically they would be secure from the server code no matter what the server code was, because they're just like Bitcoin doesn't. You don't need to see the source code of the web server that you post your Bitcoin address on to know that they can't break into your Bitcoin. It's a separate thing.
Yeah, I mean, so there's end-to-end encryption, and then there's just like kind of like regular encryption, and the server can see what's regularly encrypted, presumably, and the end-to-end encryption it shouldn't be able to. The server can't see. So,
well, again, Telegram is a centrally managed platform, so it's not the best, but it's better than a lot of the centrally managed platforms out there.
And that's the key.
And it's got the user base that I can get more content than I have time to read on Telegram.
Telegram is better than apps like Discord or WhatsApp or even I would say that I lean more towards Telegram than Signal, but I don't have faith
Edward
in Signal.
Snowden likes Signal.
Well, that's a good reason not to be a little bit cautious of it.
For security, because Signal encrypts the meta information. So the way Signal works, people can't tell who you're texting. They can't tell when you're texting them. And WhatsApp actually uses the same encryption protocols as Signal, but they don't encrypt the meta information.
How do you know that WhatsApp uses the same protocols? They're not open source.
They're not open source, but they're...
Facebook's claiming they've got an encrypted chat app, everybody. You believe them, right?
Yeah, so they may be telling you the truth on that they're using the same stuff as Signal. However, what they don't tell you is that they also have a little program that's built into it that's a backdoor that'll allow them to intercept every one of your messages.
Right, yeah, I wouldn't trust that
It's certainly possible.
I wouldn't trust
not
that.
Open source.
It's Facebook. I mean, that's reason enough to not trust WhatsApp. Bad news. Let's go to your calls and thoughts here. We got anarcho-Republican on the line, calling us from Montana, listening to KTXL there in, I think, Butte. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys, for keeping it light. There's some dark times for freedom the last few days.
Yeah, well, the last few decades.
Yeah,
that's true.
I want to know when I was free, because I don't recall.
What I was wondering is, one of you mentioned that you're religious. I was wondering if you're familiar with the theology of philosopher Jacques Ellul.
I not heard of him. No. Can you spell that name?
He was an anarchist Christian.
Spell the name. Jacques who?
And one of his books that's really good, he did a commentary in the Book of Revelation. And the reason I asked is because I was going to use the metaphor. When you punch the beast in the mouth, they turn around and it bites back. Yeah. And his idea of the beast is human government.
Mm-hmm.
He sees it as the greatest evil that has ever existed.
I think he's right about that. Absolutely. Now, how do you spell this guy's last name?
His name. Here's how you spell his last name: Ellul.
Jacques.
And he was a good friend of Jean-Paul Sartre.
Okay.
And he fought in the French Revolution. In fact, there's a tree planted in Israel. He's one of the, the Avenue of the Righteous, because he actually did what he could to save Jews. But he's very interesting. He has a lot to say about propaganda. He's post-war existentialist, but he's one of that most people don't know about. And what he talks about is about propaganda and technology. We're living it right now, and to him, that's the beast. Mm-hmm. And it's stunning stuff to hear a guy from the 1940s and 50s talk about what we're going through right now.
Mm.
But
so if you can check out his YouTube, there's a great YouTube video where he's talking about technology and propaganda making men into slaves, and you see these idiots playing that stupid game, the Pokemon game.
Pokemon
a few years ago. Yeah, they're running around and they're falling into manholes and stuff. They had all this stuff filmed of these idiots
and
doing
woman
this,
holes.
And he's saying, Jacques Ellul is talking about how we're letting technology we're slaves to it. And what I would like people to do is break away from it. I mean, you guys are coming up with all these different alternatives, but they don't work. And
here's the thing, anarcho-Republican. We can't break away from technology because it's a double-edged sword. It's beneficial in a lot of ways. So, for instance, it's technology that is allowing us to do this show.
Well, I don't mean break away. Maybe I don't mean break away from it. Break the addiction to it.
That's important. Yeah, I agree with you there.
I don't mean break away from that. We got
as Chris is on his phone.
We may be Terminator, whatever, and we're going to need technology to defeat the beast. But the beast eyes are everywhere.
Hey man, I'm not immune to it. I just resist more than most.
Anarcho-Republican,
great. Most people are addicted to it.
They
don't realize they can live without it, and you can be as free as you want. Freedom has there's a lot of things that enslave people.
Try leaving your phone.
It's just another word for nothing left to lose.
Technology can be one of them.
Try leaving your phone.
God bless you guys. We love your show. You guys are funny as heck.
Thank you, Anarcho-Republican.
How many guys are in the studio there?
3. Well,
there's 4 here.
One of them's heavy and jolly. Who's the heavy jolly guy?
I guess that would be me. I'm Nobody. I changed my name to Nobody when I ran for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power.
I like your jokes.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate your call.
At least the way you look at life.
Yeah, he's good. We love our Nobody. Thank you.
Nobody's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, nobody's special. Anarcho-Republican, thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate it, man. Let's go to David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live. You had a court hearing today.
How'd it go?
How did it go?
Hey, shut up! I'm on the phone. Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Thanks for sharing that with us.
You're not calling from a jail cell, are you?
Yeah, man, Metropolitan Detention Center, man. Had the hearing today.
So
it didn't go well.
I know he's not calling from jail. Otherwise, you'd have had to accept the charges. So.
Oh, okay.
So it must have gone all right. Well, actually, it wasn't a trial. It was a pretrial conference. You were facing charges of calling a radio station, allegedly, quote-unquote, stalking them by trying to call a talk show. They didn't like that, so they sicked the police on you. And you're going to tell us what happened today?
Yeah, you missed the best one yet. If nobody called in to listen in, it was pretty amusing.
Hold on, we'll let you tell the story here in just a moment. David in New Mexico here. We got room for you if you want to jump in these remaining moments. You can. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Also, don't forget you can visit us online at freetalklive.com and download archives that go back for more than a decade, all for free. freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Never, ever send a follow-up email asking, "Did you get my email?" Email 101. If it didn't bounce back undeliverable, it got where you sent it. And avoid transmedia pestering, like calling to ask, "Did you get my email?" or emailing to say, "I left you a voicemail." If your emails and voicemails aren't being acknowledged, your problem isn't technology, it's technique. Is your message concise and understandable? Have you boiled it down to seem as relevant as possible to the recipient? In other words, is it the opposite of spam or junk mail? All of this really matters if you're a job seeker. But even if you're not, with money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. Moments remain here. Enough time for you. If you want to join us on our number, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Or you can join us in 6 months in real life, because we're going to be at Fork Fest. And that's going to be happening June 28th through July 4th. So mark your calendar now and go ahead and book your campsite at Rogers Campground. There's an interesting development that we learned about yesterday, and that is that the Porcupine Freedom Festival chose the same week as Fork Fest this coming year. They had last year they had said that it was going to be their usual week, but now they've changed it and they're joining Fork Fest. So both festivals are joining forces, which I think is wonderful. I think it's fantastic.
So does that mean that Fork Fest is going to Pork Fest this year, or is Pork Fest going to Fork Fest?
I think Pork Fest
year?
is going to Fork Fest because we had announced our dates. Before they did.
And you know what's interesting is I think last year, there was some debate about whether or not the Pork Fest guys joined the Fork Fests, but this year there's no debate. Yeah. It was definitely the Pork Fest people joined the Fork Fest.
We can debate it. We're master
they
debaters.
will, yeah. Someone will.
I'm sure they will.
But check out forkfest.party, and you can go there and learn more about the decentralized camping festival that has, I think, had a positive influence on the Porcupine Freedom Festival and has encouraged them towards more decentralization.
Definitely.
In fact, they're talking about continuing in that direction this year. So kudos to them for that. Forkfest.party, again, June 28th through July 4th, as we go back to David in New Mexico. Now, David, you've been facing for, most of the last few years, some criminal charges over calling a college radio station. And you tried calling. They said they didn't want you to call back. You called back anyway because it's a government-funded public radio station. So you figure, you're paying your taxes, so you should be able to call even if they don't like it. And they called the police on you. You ended up being charged with 4 counts of stalking-related charges for this. And you've already defeated 3 of them prior to trial. Today was your pretrial conference for the 4th charge. What happened?
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was a knockdown, drag-out fight. It was the best one yet. It was probably the best one in my entire court career.
Really?
It was funny.
Court career.
And remember how I asked you? Oh, and by the way, it was University of New Mexico radio station KUNM. We need to give them publicity. Let's Talk New Mexico, their radio program.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
unless you're David, then you're not allowed.
Yeah.
Let's talk, except David.
Except David. Let's talk, except David, yes. Remember how I said place your bets? They had they had declined to continue prosecuting 3 previous charges. You know, they fell like dominoes. Every hearing I had, boom, they would give up. They would surrender. 3 in a row with this last 4th one remaining. And so remember I called and asked you to place your bets as to are they going to fold on this 4th one like the previous 3, or is it a setup that they were pooling their resources and they just want to fight this last remaining one?
You made a real convincing case that they didn't have a case, basically, that the stalking charge, essentially it has to do with, you know, the threat of violence and being legitimately afraid for your life and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess they dropped it.
Well, they went right in between. They made a real weasel move. This was hilarious. An hour before the hearing this morning, they filed a motion with the court, meaning I didn't get any notice of it prior to the hearing, which
so
I called them on. I chastised them in open court, objecting to the fact that we were in a hearing, and 1 hour before the hearing, they filed a motion to amend their position, which is basically, you know, that's a big no-no because I'm entitled to notice on it, and they didn't. I didn't get any notice.
And they were trying to amend it to what? A lesser charge or what?
Yeah. They wanted to amend it to. They're willing to drop the full misdemeanor stalking charge and make it a petty misdemeanor disorderly contact or conduct instead.
No, I wouldn't accept it. I wouldn't accept either.
I
I
don't get to accept it.
Well,
I mean, you can object to the motion.
Oh,
but.
Right. Fair enough. But I mean, I would take this. I mean, I wouldn't. Okay, so they're not pleading down. They're just
they are asking the
charge.
judge.
Right,
no. What they're doing is they're asking the judge to accept a reduction in the charge.
Right.
You can say, I object. I want to be charged with the full thing, but the judge will do what the judge.
Yeah. Sure.
So what happened?
Right. So the judge, I stated my thing on the record like I just told you, and then the judge comes on and he goes, yeah, he's right. You didn't give him any notice. So we're not going to entertain your motion today. You can come back in a week after
great.
Mr. Olson has had time to think about it, and then you can come with your motion to amend.
Great. So he kicked the can down the road for another week.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was hoping you were going to say he just dismissed it.
Nah, that's not going to happen.
No, I don't want him to dismiss it. You see, it's that old thing about how does that go about don't wrestle with a pig in the mud because something, and besides the pig likes it. I'm that pig.
You might not. I don't know, but you may have a First Amendment case here, and if they dismiss it, you may then be able to sue them. So it might actually be in your favor to go ahead, let them dismiss it, and then sue. Because if you lose, then you have no chance at suing them. But if it's dismissed, then you can sue them.
Open court, you still have an opportunity.
Right. If you win, then you can still sue.
And there's no way they're going to convict him of this nonsense.
I don't think so either. But it's still 50-50 chance. So because that's just the way it is, even when you're 100% right.
All right. So you're going back next week for another round, huh?
Yeah. We're going to round 2, ding ding, and they're going to be down on the mat once again.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you ought to do, David? You ought to join our Matrix chat server at chat.lrn.fm and then post the phone number for the hearing so some of us can actually go and listen to it live.
That would be pretty cool.
And the radio station, I'd like to call them and tell them what I think.
That's a great point. So hop on in there over at chat.lrn.fm and you can post that stuff, and then the information will be there and everybody can see it.
As a fellow radio host, I think you guys are a disgrace to the profession.
Let me go to Rat Speed. He's on our Discord. Sorry, not Discord. On the Matrix server. Rat Speed, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey guys, don't mean to end this on such a somber note, but to bring things back to the whole Trump Twitter ban, just wanted to mention, I thought it was kind of ironic that they banned him for the threat of inciting violence when he's the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, isn't inciting violence his job?
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's okay when the military kills people.
That's not violent. They kill them non-violently.
Yeah, weapons of mass destruction kind of violence. That's fine, but just talking. But no, I was just thinking about like this is all going to end up in the Streisand effect. I really think it's going to end up going the opposite direction of what they were intending. If they're intending to prevent violence, look at what happened to Mubarak back in Egypt before the before the what was it called? The something spring?
Arab
it
Spring.
Was the Arab Spring. Yeah. The Mubarak turned off the internet, and so everyone went on into the streets to protest. So they just basically took the microphone away from everyone's favorite daddy, and now these people are going to be up in arms. And yeah, there's probably going to be a big lash up.
Do you remember what Martin Luther King said about riot? He said,
"Please inform me."
He said, "Riot is the language of the unheard."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is basically this is cancel culture at the highest level. Now, of course, I don't agree with a lot of what Trump ever had to say. You know, I thought, oh boy, you know, this guy's going to be bad for the next 4 years, but what's happening now, I mean, this is like the grand finale of 2020 that's about to come up.
It's very interesting. And Ratspeed, thanks for sharing your thoughts here tonight. I want to share the rest of this Gab guy. Again, he's been taken down by Visa, and his wife also banned. He says it's very concerning. We've done nothing wrong. Gab's always been a legally operated business. We sell hats, shirts, software subscription service that unlocks new features on Gab. My personal credit score's in the 800s. I pay my bills. I have a wife and daughter to provide for, yet we're all being punished and defamed because someone at Visa has it out for me. We're told Visa has someone camping our website and watching our payment processing. As soon as we get a new processor up, they find out who it is on their end and contact them. They tell the processor Gab is flagged for, quote, illegal activity, and if they don't stop processing payments for us, they'll be heavily fined.
See, that actually is a cause of action.
Maybe
he's got right there, because they are defaming him. He has not been accused of any crime. He has not been convicted
when
of
the
any
processor
crime.
inquires about the activity, Visa tells him Gab's been flagged for quote-unquote hate speech, which is, of course, not illegal in the United States and supposedly protected by the First Amendment. As I've written, it's not real, and I refuse to acknowledge it as a term. Visa doesn't agree. The reason I share all of this is I hope it serves as a wake-up call and a warning. If they can do this to me, they can do it to you, and they likely will.
And remember, these are regulated institutions that you can't simply set up your own, so there's no competition.
But there is cryptocurrency.
There is cryptocurrency.
And that is the solution here. That's what Pornhub's doing, and Gab, I believe, has been doing it as well.
Good. I'm going to get on Gab, actually, and make a post about cryptocurrency.
It's a great-looking site. I gotta hand it to him. We'll see you tomorrow night online. In the meantime, freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
I'm sure I can speak for many of thousands. I don't fear illegals. I don't want them here and their filth that they bring with and the disease that they bring with.
All the people who work in the stores and the markets and the restaurants are overwhelmingly Hispanic, and they seem very clean and be doing a fine job here, and I've never heard anything about problems with disease.
For you to defend the illegal immigrants, and I'm not sure, as I said earlier, which host at what time is very condescending.
Madam, I will defend anybody that is peaceful and looking for a better life for themselves. We already pointed out.
I don't defend them. I wish that people like you.
You say that Mexicans are filthy, and you call me condescending, lady? You say they're disease-ridden and filthy, and I'm condescending?
And they are. And
You're outrageous. Get out of here. Thank you for the call.
She's had all her rope. She's hung herself.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The president responds. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump in a now deleted by Twitter tweet from the POTUS account responding to the removal of his personal account, writing, as I have been saying for a long time, Twitter has gone further and further in banning free speech. And tonight, Twitter employees have coordinated with the Democrats and radical left in removing my account from their platform to silence me and you. Twitter says they removed the account over his claims of election fraud. Earlier today, the president tweeted that he wasn't attending President-elect Biden's inauguration January 20th.
Twitter is looking at all of this, and its calculation is that what the president is saying, even by just saying that I'm not attending the inauguration, is being seen as code language to the president's supporters, that it's a safe target there at the Capitol, that the election was not legitimate despite the fact that the president has called for an orderly transition.
Fox's John Roberts at the White House. Earlier this week, the president's account was locked for 12 hours. Google Play has removed the conservative social media app Parler from its store. In a statement, it says it's being done in order to protect users' safety. Apple has threatened to remove Parler, but hasn't done so yet. House Democrats expected to introduce one article of impeachment against the president on Monday for incitement of insurrection, and states that the president engaged in high crimes and misdemeanors by willfully inciting violence against the government of the United States connected to the riot at the Capitol.
In addition to that, the draft refers to the president's phone call last weekend to Georgia's Secretary of State as he sought to have that state's 2020 election result overturned. The draft resolution alleges that President Trump would be a threat to national security, democracy, and the Constitution should he remain in office.
Fox's Gernal Scott. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Another state using technology to inform people about possible exposure to COVID-19.
The Hawaii Department of Health launching a new app with the goal of alerting users to potential exposure so they can self-quarantine faster and get a test if they need it. The app is called the Aloha Safe Alert. It's already been downloaded more than 14,000 times, the state says. Users who learn they have the virus can upload the information to the app anonymously. The app then sends private notifications within 48 hours if an app user remains at least 15 minutes within 6 feet of another user who tested positive in the previous 14 days. Residents of Hawaii, Honolulu, Kauai, and Maui counties can access the app, which has been authorized in 17 other